Hi guys, I'm back again today with the second part to Power Ranger Wild Force history. Before we do start, don't forget to subscribe, click the bell button, and if you wanna check out Alice in Borderland, season 1 and 2, Squid Game season 2, because one I watched it before I even started reacting. It's in the Patreon down in the description and other stuff as well. But anyways, let's get it.
As I hurry from my sleep, from your skies the snow gently
How did it become a
falls
musical?
to the earth. I can't wait to greet you with my song.
Well, good job convincing me that the orgs should destroy humanity and nature, Shayla. Look, she's not a bad singer, and the tune would be fine, though clearly it wants to be Colors of the Wind from Pocahontas. But the lyrics are insipid, and this is just a personal thing with me. Quite frankly, I'm not fond of songs that don't have any kind of rhyming scheme to them. Your mileage may vary, but the lines aren't exactly carrying through a wondrous presentation of nature. The song is essentially, la la la, nature is nice, I like nature. And the visuals, instead of making me reflect on the natural beauty of the earth, just remind me of David Hasselhoff singing Hooked on a Feeling.
Oh, nature, please don't.
I'm dreaming of Toblerone with that image. But anyways, I don't if like shows like Power Rangers, I don't want there to be a musical, right? It works sometimes, but not this way. If it's like in a comedic way, yes, but this one reserve it for like a fairy tale or a Disney something.
Ever go away.
Hooked on a feeling, and I'm high on believing.
Oh, and to compare it to Colors of the Wind again, say what you will about it, but it has a grandiosity in its instrumentation, a horn section, build up to big sweeping
that's
moments, and variation
beautiful.
in the pacing. This is just a single flute that's going the same tempo and tone throughout. I hate this song, and they play it several times in the season after this point. Sometimes the same as always, and once as a remix that sounds slightly better than the normal one. In a single filler episode, we get a fourfold of new weapons. The first is the Falcon Summoner bow and arrow weapon. Next is Cole's Battleizer, the Animarium armor. This Battleizer looks pretty damn good with bird wings, a chest plate, and the greaves I've always said feet armor should be. Finally, there's the Red Falcon Zord, which joins the deer, rhino, armadillo, and giraffe to form the Isis Megazord.
it's kinda
It can
cool.
fly and use its wings as a shield. The battle with Cole also reverts Toxica and Jindrax back to their old selves, who withdraw when they spot Master Org and plot their next move. So, Taylor gets herself a new car and starts driving around really fast. Because nothing says environmentalism and the beauty of nature quite as much as loud engines, speeding, and exhaust fumes. However, she ends up stopped and given a ticket. Probably doesn't help that for some reason she takes off her seatbelt upon stopping. And we see who it was who stopped her.
I could just tell she was trouble.
Just your type.
You kidding?
Wait, I just realized. Did Silver Hills have a regular police force? Or did Mr. Collins end up privatizing them and absorbing them into the Silver Guardians? Three monsters teleport into an alleyway and start causing havoc. Jindrax and Toxica follow an energy trail until they come upon the monsters in an alleyway and... Wait, is that Deviat's mutated form? Man, they really were reusing costumes. The two try to recruit them, thinking that they're orgs, but the three shove them aside and make their way to the nearest city, where they're intercepted by the Silver Guardians. The three walk through them as if they were nothing, though Wes and Eric do put up more of a fight and morph, which is a bit head-tilting. You'd think the Time Force would insist on taking the advanced morpher technology back with them. Anyway, even morph, the two are tossed aside until help arrives.
Hold it right there, orcs. All right, more rangers.
The monsters retreat for the time being, and the two teams meet up, Taylor angrily recognizing Eric as the one who gave her a ticket. Before they can get into a fight, the two are pulled back and reminded that they're all the good guys here.
Well, why don't you guys leave fighting the mutants to the big boys?
Mutants? You mean orcs?
Back at Biolabs, Wes apparently has a kit left behind that he can use to contact the Rangers in the future. Trip answers, explaining the three fugitives have been on the run and must have somehow made their way back to 2002. He also states that Jen was the one on special assignment to pursue them, but they haven't heard back from her in a few weeks now. The three monsters talk with each other in backwards talk while someone else watches from the shadows with a translator. Wes and Eric go to Taylor and the groups decide to join forces. She brings them to the animarium and they get a signal from Trip again, who tells them that the three are some sort of half-breeds of mutant and org, called mutorgs. Fortunately, they know someone who they think can help. Back in the past, as Danny and Max do some bonding, Eric comments that Taylor's got some interesting friends.
They drive me crazy sometimes.
I used to feel the same way about my friends.
Wes and Cole talk, the former telling him about how there are other Power Rangers out there. Nadira goes to visit her father in prison, which is surprisingly not a cryo prison. So did the changes in the timeline alter how future prisons worked? Or did Rancic get transferred to a lower prison for good behavior as an immobile action figure? And if this was an option, what about the mutant who was in it for petty theft? In the present, the Rangers go to intercept the mutorgs. They morph and charge the three, but thanks to some impressive stunt work and fight choreography, the mutorgs are too much for the seven. Wes is forced to demorph, but is saved by the figure in the cloak. Holy crap, Jen, that's special assignment gear for Time Force? Unfortunately, I can't show more of this sequence, but Jen just leaps down, does some impressive flips, and shoots the hell out of the mutorgs before they retreat. It is supremely badass. The mutorgs arrive at Master Org's cave, now actually referred to as the Nexus, and bow to him, ending part 1. The Rangers, in the meantime, return to the animarium, upset over how they got smacked around. Wes and Jen talk briefly, Jen admitting that she's been in their time period for a week, to Wes's irritation that she made no effort to talk to him, nor do we get an explanation beyond her saying she wanted to. And it can't really be about polluting the timeline, he already knows about the future. Circuit contacts the team, informing them that the other Time Force Rangers are on the way. Our heroes from last season reunite, but also...
I've done many horrible things in the past. Allow me to make up for this one.
Of course. I'm smart.
Cole uses his ability to sense living beings' hearts to indicate that Rancic is indeed here to help. They all go to the animarium, and Rancic explains that during his years wandering, he came across a ruined temple where 3 orgs were encased in stone. The orgs promised him power if they were freed, and Rancic gladly did so, especially when they mentioned that they would destroy humans. The org spirits copied his mutant DNA and became the mutorgs, and in return, they gave him some of his abilities, like extracting swords from his body. Oh, and since I already referenced DBZ Abridged, and people reminded me of this clip from last time.
That's not fair. I can't pull swords out of my body.
Stand still and you will!
I have a chance to make things right, if you will trust me.
We can't change the past, but we can work for a better future.
While Wes and Jen cuddle up, Taylor and Eric flirt. It's cute, even if it really doesn't go anywhere. Meanwhile, Master Org and the Mutorgs head to an industrial site to create as much pollution as they can to alter time. The Rangers split up and charge forward, blasting or kicking ass as they go along. Jen and Alyssa are particularly impressive wielding the Time Force guns. Just some really good effects work, cinematography, and choreography here. The Mutorgs run into Wes, Cole, Nadira, and Rancic, the latter two being injured by one of them.
Now it's up to me to fix my mistake. I kill you now!
Rancic succeeds in destroying their mutant halves, somehow, and the others run off to deal with mutorgs, Nadira staying with her father. As the monsters retreat, they're intercepted by Merrick, who is here now, I guess, and the other Rangers. The two teams morph, and like last season, we're only using the Wild Force theme song over it, but honestly, the Wild Force theme song is good enough that it works. Reinforcements from the Future is the best team-up since To the 10th Power, and arguably even better than that. It continues the storylines of Time Force while also helping advance the Wild Force Rangers as characters. The fight choreography is superb, showing the teams working in sync to defeat the Mutorgs. There are unmorphed fights, morphed fights, excellent acting, and all around, it's just a very enjoyable two-parter. The pacing is exquisite. Every scene exists just long enough to serve its purpose, and nothing drags. This is the team-up I've been wanting for the past few seasons, and it delivers perfectly. With combined blasts from all the Rangers, including battleizer modes, the 3 Mutorgs are destroyed, and the Rangers return to Rancic. To their shock, his mutated parts are completely healed.
Yeah.
Don't quite get that, but hey, I like a happy ending, and it's always been implied that his mutation isolation, especially after Venomark's bite, is not exactly a pleasant thing for Rancic. We get a montage of the Rangers interacting with each other, set to a remix of that horrible song that Shayla was singing to the Deer Zord. Like I said, it's somewhat better than the original, so it kind of works, though that may be because the lyrics are more incomprehensible. Kudos to the show for putting in nods to Time Force, like Katie arm wrestling and Lucas and Nadira seeming to hook up. Following the team-up, Toxica and Jindrax head to a desert to locate an object to help stop the supposedly fake Master Org. Speaking of, Master Org swears that if he's going down, he's taking the Rangers with him. Alyssa sees a news report that Dr. Adler, the scientist who was with Cole's parents when they were supposedly killed, was located and brought to a hospital. However, when they go to see him, he takes the Rangers prisoner. He reveals himself as Master Org and that he killed Cole's parents.
And I enjoyed every single minute of it.
He exposits that they were once his friends, working together to try to study the legend of Animaria. He fell in love with Cole's mother, but apparently she and Cole's dad were dating, and he asked her to marry him first.
He betrayed me.
Everybody betrayed me. I fed up with his world.
12 years people have been asking me to make that comparison with his accent, so I hope it was worth the wait. Anyway, yeah, Master Org's a bit of a dick. Nothing in the flashback indicates that he and her were even dating, yet he expected to just ask her to marry him and that'd be that. Sure, it's possible that Cole's father knew about his feelings and stepped over them, but even Cole's mother refers to him as Dr. Adler and not by his first name, so despite supposedly being close friends, not close enough to call him by his first name. Still, his jealousy and whatnot were probably not helped by reporters wanting to talk to Cole's father and not him, giving him all the credit for their work. By the by, points to the costuming department, who went the extra mile by having Dr. Adler and Cole's father look like they stepped out of the late 70s, early 80s with their clothes and hairstyles. The dates aren't specifically mentioned, but the time frame roughly fits, and it's a neat attention to detail. Anyway, he grew to hate them, and during an expedition to where Animaria was originally located, in the Amazon, wait, the Amazon? The reason Turtle Cove is so named is because of the turtle-shaped lake in the town. And said lake is there because it's where the Animarium took off from. So Merrick brought Princess Shayla from the Amazon all the way up to California for the escape. Anyway, they discover the remnants of the original Master Org. Dr. Adler says he's going to destroy them, but instead he consumed the remains and became Master Org, killing the two as we saw in the flashback a while ago. Back in the present, Cole gets knocked around by Master Org, just getting slammed into pipes. Seriously, ouch, this season really stepped up the unmorphed injuries. Toxica and Jindrax, meanwhile, locate an ancient Org general and reawaken it. After getting beaten up a bit, Cole ramps up the hamminess.
I'm a guardian of the earth!
Acting! However, his overacting pays off by kicking Master Org in the face and morphing. Merrick arrives and frees the other Rangers while Cole initiates his battleizer to fend off Master Org. He absorbs one of Master Org's blasts and sends it back at him, forcing him to revert back to Dr. Adler. He tries in vain to use his abilities, but it doesn't seem to work, Cole saying it's time for them to go. Adler wants to know why he won't finish him off, but Cole says that all the time Adler spent seeking revenge poisoned him, and he refuses to take the same path. So I think what we're getting from all this is that toxic masculinity was the real Master Org. Weakened from the battle, Adler crawls through the desert back to his lair before running into the two Duke Orgs and their new master, Mandalok, an Org with two personalities, one male and one female, coexisting within it. They shove Adler off a cliff to kill him, but at the end of the episode, a horn grows from his forehead and his eyes open. Mandalok is brought back to Master Org's old chamber, seeing that Master Org, in a rampage, destroyed all of the General Org statues, which contained them, meaning that it is the last one. Mandalok isn't interesting as a villain at all. All it does is want to eat buildings and pollution. Honestly, the most compelling things about them is that the female personality was voiced by Barbara Goodson, aka Rita's voice actress. Story-wise, we follow this up with a plot point involving a little kid named Kite. It's absolutely stupid, except for the fact that it turns out the kid is, in fact, the reincarnated form of Animus, who is made up of 5 other wild Zords. What's annoying about this is that before they discover that he's Animus, he starts ranting about humanity polluting crap, the ozone layer, the environment, blah, 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 blah.
Power Rangers fight to protect the Earth. but humans are the ones destroying nature.
The lack of nuance is the
Okay.
big issue here. There's no real counter-argument offered or anything for little kids watching the show. It's just humans suck and are
Okay,
polluting
Jake.
things. And beyond Cole just saying, people don't mean to pollute, it just happens with progress, there really isn't anything more in-depth to say. I don't mind Animus taking this position that humans are the cause of so much environmental harm, but his solution is terrible. When Animus finally comes out of the preachy little dumbass, he says this.
I do not fight for the orcs, but I will not fight for the humans either.
And he takes the wild zords away from the Rangers, saying that humans don't deserve to inherit the Earth because of the way they've treated it. And then this happens.
Once Animus had taken all the wild zords off the animarium, Princess Shayla fell into a deep sleep.
Seriously, who the hell are you, narrator? Whose bright idea was it to add narration here? Anyway, point is, Animus's little humans are so bad because of the environment whining gets old real fast. From the way they're talking, it makes it sound like he wants to directly attack oil companies and kill anyone who drives a car. By taking away the wild zords, Animus pretty much dooms the planet he seems to love so much. Maybe instead of asserting your will over the things, you could ask the wild zords what they thought. And even then, it perpetuates this really frustrating idea that humanity is separate from nature. It is not. Human beings are just as much a part of the ecosystem as animals, because sometimes nature does go badly on its own front, causing damage through weather or animal activity, extinctions or declining populations of species because of predators overhunting, or just humanity working to conserve and preserve species that could have otherwise gone extinct. Yes, humanity causes a lot of problems, and even 20 years after this series came out, we're still dealing with greed and general dickery that's making things worse. But nature is not some perfect, harmonious utopia in and of itself, without sin or fault in anything bad that happens. If you think that nature never goes to war with itself, not even referring to animals here, but plants specifically, look up kudzu, kogon grass, and privet. A lot of this is fallout from bad pop culture and pop science beliefs of the 90s. This embrace of nature as an almost godlike force in itself, that we cannot question the will of nature. A spiritualism that implied nature as perfection, and if we just got back to nature, everything would be fine. It's not helpful for kids watching this because it doesn't offer any kind of solutions for it. At least in the Mighty Morphin days, stuff like the Cleanup Club and trying to shut down waste dumps were being proactive, even if low-key environmentalism can't really save the world. Remember, a lot of the problems with the environment are not caused by individual actions, but by corporations. Here, the Rangers just say, yeah, it sucks, but that's progress. And Animus's solution is worse. He decides, I'm just going to take the wild zords and start over on another planet. Guess it was less that he cared about the Earth specifically, and more that he liked having a frickin' garden. What's worse is that the team says that Animus is right, and they haven't done enough to stop humans from damaging the Earth, when that's not their mandate. Sure, maybe they could speak out about it. They are public figures and could hold some influence, but stopping the orgs from making things worse is still important, and they're doing their best here. Animus offers Eric the chance to go to his new world since he was his friend 3,000 years prior. Notice you're not offering it to Shayla, you little prick. But Merrick, overhearing the Rangers fighting an org without the help of the Zords, tells him off.
They don't have you or the wild Zords to protect them. All they have are their friends.
But then Animus wakes up Shayla and returns the wild Zords because... friendship? Oh, he says it was all a test to see how dedicated they were to their task. Yeah, see, I think the 32 episodes that happened before this little test might have been a decent indicator of these people's dedication to their task. And I notice you don't rescind what you said about humans sucking, so no, up yours, you preachy little brat. You got caught looking like a jackass, and now you're trying to save face. Oh, but as an extra gift, he gives Cole a flying motorcycle, the Wild Force Rider. I'll get into that later. Animus leaves saying he isn't needed now, that the Rangers are truly dedicated to their task, blah, blah, blah. But this Animus crap isn't what you all want me to talk about, is it? No, there's something much more important to cover. Strangely, at the time in the lead up to the original version of this video, people wondered if it was something I would talk about. making me scratch my head about why exactly they think I would leave it out of the videos.
How do you know who I am?
I'm Carter Grayson, Lightspeed Rescue. Red Ranger.
The episode begins with Cogs digging up something on the surface of the moon. Leading the Cogs are the big bad Beetleborgs. Well, okay, not them specifically, but the costumes from it. As a reminder, Beetleborgs was another Saban-produced show utilizing footage from a Japanese tokusatsu series, in this case Metal Heroes, and for a time it was apparently more popular than Power Rangers. It makes for a cute, if possibly unintentional, in-joke by using those suits for the villains of this story. And who should be watching them but Andros, wearing the cloak that makes him completely conspicuous against the gray rocks. They spot him, of course, riding on horses after him. For the record, this is the Machine Empire here. Man, they must be in really bad shape if they're using horses. Anyway, Andros morphs and escapes, leading to the true reunion part of this episode.
Why, I even once met Lord Zed and Rita.
Yeah? So did I.
So, how did Bulk get back to Earth from Miranoi? Well, the best answer is, shut up and don't question it. Bulk and Skull are back together again.
Excuse me, sir. You have a phone call.
Now, there have been a lot of theories about Bulk and Skull's respect for Tommy, ranging anywhere from knowledge of his past as a ranger to simply being respectful to him given their past together. I, however, just kind of grin because in rewatching all the old episodes, I can't help but remember one particular scene.
Nobody insults Bulk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be afraid to interrupt him too. As you saw, Carter shows up and recruits Cole, though we never get an answer why it's only him that they want. He brings Cole to the Nasada spaceport, where he reunites with Wes and Eric. TJ and Andros come in next. They've all been assembled by a veteran ranger, Tommy. Tommy partially explains the situation, Andros tracking down the remnants of the Machine Empire.
But I thought the Zero Rangers destroyed them years ago.
Well, for the record, it was Zed and Rita who destroyed the Machine Empire, but they weren't around when that happened, so we'll just pretend the Zeo Rangers did it. But yeah, Tommy says that while the Royal House of Gadgetry are dead, the Machine Empire's generals survived and are planning to take their revenge. So, how will they be getting to the moon to stop the Machine Empire from whatever they're doing?
I present the Astro Megaship Mark II.
My friends, we've come home.
Before they leave, Andros points out that he thought that there was at least one more Red Ranger on Earth. Tommy says he had hoped that he'd show up, but apparently he didn't. However, they hear a motorcycle outside and go out to check. Jason has arrived.
You didn't think I was going to let you do this without the original Red Ranger, did you?
Meanwhile, on Miranoi, Leo once again takes the Quasar Saber out of the rock and does epic posing. On board the megaship, Tommy gives some more Cliff Notes summaries of the events of Zeo and how the Empire remnants have been organized under a General Vengeance. Don't worry everyone, as long as you guys are around, I don't see anything calling itself Vengeance ever being a serious threat to humanity. Still, that raises the question, what are they digging up on the moon?
Serpentera.
It seems at some point while hanging out in the camper of evil, Zed brought Serpentera back to...
Okay, before we continue, I have a thought. What if Power Ranger does like a famous edition, like with famous people? Maybe they don't have the budgets to pay them, but that would be fascinating, right? Because these actors, I've seen some of them here and there, but not like, that famous. But what if they get like, let's say, Tom Holland as Red Ranger and Zendaya as Yellow Ranger or Pink, if whatever she wants, right? Like, that would be crazy. Is it just me? Or we don't want to taint Power Ranger like that? Let me see. Let me know your answers. Let me go back.
It seems at some point while hanging out in the camper of evil, Zed brought Serpentera back to the moon and buried it, probably to be used later when they were in a better position to use it. The Beetleborgs install a new reactor in Serpentera to fix its AAA battery issue. The Rangers arrive, and right out of the starting gate, they're badass.
You know, if you miss King Mondo that much, I promise we can help you join him.
The fights in this episode are phenomenal. The thing is, since In Space, there have been less and less unmorphed fights featured on the show, probably for reasons of budget over anything else. As such, it's just really impressive to see them actually kicking ass in civilian mode. And of course, Carter doesn't waste any time and shoot stuff, because that's how Carter rolls. The Beetleborgs head to Serpentera to try to board it, but Cole runs out to stop them.
Will be like,
Stop! In the name of love! He gets
this.
knocked back, but before he's blasted, he's rescued by Leo and Aurico, the Red Equation Ranger. The group reunites, and of course, it's time.
What are we waiting for? Let's do it, guys. It's morphin' time!
Not showing anything past that,
that's the
sadly,
best
because of
morphing.
content ID, which is a damn shame because all those morphing sequences at once are beautiful. Sure, no individual theme songs, but it'd be really hard to flow that many into each other anyway. This, my friends, is how you make a 10th anniversary special. It's incredible watching the fight sequences here, highlighting just how much has changed since the show began. It's especially cool to see the original Mighty Morphin suit doing the more extensive wirework stuff that's been in the more recent seasons. We see how technology has changed to allow for better special effects. Hell, they even pull off a Matrix bullet time camera spin. Or check this out, a speed up, slow down ramping effect 3 years before 300 did it. Venjix manages to get into the horrible CGI Serpentera and takes off. Carter says there's no time to get back to the megaship, so Cole summons the Wild Force Rider in this incredibly goofy-looking sequence where he flies at the thing. And yes, he uses the Rider to defeat Serpentera. Oh, and he even screeches in space. Power Rangers, where science dies due to alcohol poisoning. Cole flies right into the mouth of Serpentera and destroys it. This is the only major misstep of the episode, that Serpentera gets taken down so easily. But there is a reason for it. Anyway, the Rangers say goodbye to each other, and they have a good laugh about Tommy's popularity, especially when Cole calls him the greatest Ranger ever. But they all have their own things to say about why they're all awesome instead. So, for those who have never seen this before, or have seen it but know of all the continuity and questions surrounding it, let's get all of that out of the way. And there's a lot to cover with this. First and foremost, this is a reunion of all the Red Rangers, so where the hell is Rocky? Steve Cardenas was indeed approached to appear in the episode. However, he was moving at the time, and sadly they couldn't reach him when it came time to actually bring him in. He was, however, fully on board with coming back. It's just sometimes this sort of thing happens. Apparently he would have only assumed the Red Mighty Morphin powers if they couldn't get Austin St. John to be Jason. Personally, I would have put him in the ninja suit and dropped the Red Equation Ranger, but what you gonna do? Speaking of, Aurico is the only Ranger to not have his original actor reprise his role, which isn't that bad since he only had like 2 or 3 lines in the episode. Next question is of the powers, something that's hotly debated about. Most glaring of the problems is Jason's, since he had given up the Mighty Morphin powers to Rocky. One theory is that the Sword of Light didn't transfer the powers so much as copy them, but that tends to get thrown out for various reasons. Another theory is that during Zeo, Rocky gave the morpher back to Jason. It's certainly plausible. Adam still had his morpher, and we saw that the things can still function, and it's potentially possible for them to be repaired. I get a lot of behind-the-scenes information secondhand, so my original explanation given for how Jason officially got his powers back supposedly came from the writer, Amit Bhaumek. That involved stuff in non-canon material like comics, but I can't find a primary source on that. However, apparently Amit had a deeper explanation that he gave on Facebook, stating that they had decided not to explain to keep the episode from getting bogged down in continuity, but he had hoped to revisit the subject in a future episode, possibly in relation to the original plans for Ninja Storm that would have shown a flashback depicting the powers getting returned. I don't know about the accuracy of that any more than the rest, but it sounds plausible enough given what those plans were, which of course we'll talk about next time. And yeah, I guess you're wondering about Bulk and Skull too. Well, the theory postulated there is that the wormhole that the Galaxy Rangers used back in Trakeena's Revenge to bring them to Earth could have allowed Bulk to return to Earth too. Again, I don't really think it matters other than the two are working at a resort, again, kind of like a juice bar from their youth. I'm also guessing that, like their odd jobs they've had in the past, they did not keep this profession going for too long, given what we'll see of the two in the future. And oh yes, this is not the end for Bulk and Skull. As for TJ and the turbo powers, recall that Storm Blaster had a spare morpher for Justin, so it's entirely possible that Lightning Cruiser also had a spare turbo morpher for TJ. We never saw the Zeo powers being lost on screen, so it's most likely that Tommy still had them after he retired from active duty. Now, people have asked why he doesn't use them at other points we'll get to, same as with Adam back in Always a Chance, But my theory is a philosophical one. The Rangers are supposed to be a team, and a Ranger trying to act alone is just not done. They need the support of others to get through their hardships. I know it's
I mean, that's
stupid,
why the
but I'm
bark
going to go with
also.
that since we don't have any other real answers. At this point, we're still, more than a decade off from the Master Morpher. There's also an alpha robot in the megaship we see and hear briefly, though he was supposed to have a few more lines in the original script. He's identified as Alpha 7, but since he has the original voice, and since we never learned the fate of the original Alpha 5, I'm just going to assume it's Alpha 5 and go with that. As you'll recall from the Lightspeed Rescue
Or they upgraded.
review, Danny
So,
Slavin had a falling out with the
Alpha
production team,
7.
so when he was asked to come back, he was on the fence about it.
5
When he
got
did
upgraded.
finally decide to return, most of the filming had already been completed. As such, he was digitally inserted into several shots, and in one group shot where he's supposed to be unmorphed, you can clearly see the suited version. There were 3 other former cast members who were in the episode as voices for the Beetleborgs: Walter Jones, who played Zack, Catherine Sutherland, who played Kat, and Archie Cow, who played Kai. Sure, most of it was just 1 or 2 lines and some grunting, but it's still cool that they did that. Another trivia note, the chess set that Bulk and Skull are playing with is the one used from In Space during the Psycho Ranger saga. The script evolved pretty significantly over time, starting with an outline by director and action choreographer Koichi Sakamoto. The Beetleborg suits were always intended to be used, but in this case they would just be 5 metallic warriors who attack Earth with a giant laser, and the various Ranger appearances are spread out across the episode. The end would feature a 2-minute montage of scenes from across the 10 years of the franchise. Producer Jonathan Zacher wrote a more official outline developing things further, including Alpha summoning all the Red Rangers together to fight the Metallic Warriors and their big laser, including an amusing bit where Tommy encounters a street vendor who wants to sell him Bulk and Skull rock band t-shirts in green and white. And you guys doubted the power of Bulk and Skull as a rock band. It was thought that this version was still a little too shallow, with the 5 metallic warriors not really being seen as much of a threat to warrant all this, so enter Amit Bhaumek in his outline. In this case, he dropped the metallic warriors idea, and the overall plot is similar to the finished episode, but in this case, it's a cult that worshipped Dark Spectre trying to resurrect him, succeeding, and the 10 Rangers together are able to destroy him again. The hope was also to explain why the hell Malagor from the Turbo movie and Dark Spectre look the same, other than reused suits. In this case, that both were members of the same species, but Malagor was a relative infant compared to the fully grown Dark Spectre. Because of the cost-saving decision to use the Beetleborg suits, that led to the idea of the Machine Empire trying to dig up Serpentera. Still, from a writing perspective, one of the fun things that Amit Bhaumek wanted to do was flip the formula of the show on its head. Instead of a big bad setting up shop and launching monsters from the moon or wherever, the Rangers proactively decide to take the fight to the enemy and attack them on the moon to finish them off. It's rather neat in that regard. Forever Red dug deep into Power Rangers lore, bringing
Okay. We are going to end it here for today and we'll finish tomorrow. So, this has been interesting. And also, I don't know, I like this version of Power Rangers well. I think this might be original, the second one. And then I think there's one more and then this that I really like. Or maybe this could be the third one. I'm not sure anymore. But yeah, thank you guys and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.